Hello and welcome to another Toffee Blues video, your source for all things Everton. I'm Louis and this is a player ratings video coming off the back of yesterday's 0-0 home draw against Newcastle United. We'll start with the game as a whole. I thought it was ruined, first of all, by the official in the middle, Craig Pawson. I find it hard to believe that man is still allowed to referee Everton games, if I'm being honest. Whether you think it's cheating, whether you think it's just he's not up to the task, whatever is the reasoning behind it, there's far too many decisions over the years that have gone against Everton when he's been refereeing, and yesterday was no different. And I'm not on about the big decisions of the game either, namely the penalty claim that Everton had in the second half. I'm talking about little decisions throughout the game. When Everton are under the cosh and they're trying to get up the pitch, for whatever reason it seemed as if we were just allergic to winning a free kick. The amount of times where McNeil would be dragged back and Dye would be dragged back, nothing given, and then Anthony Gordon would hit the deck and get a free kick was laughable. If you go back through the Anfield derby last season, you go from the Allen red card, you go through the Calvert-Lewin red card when he was on VAR yesterday, and the big one for me when I thought he should never have been allowed to referee another Everton game, Bournemouth away a few years ago when Tarkowski had a head injury and he played on for 25 seconds and Kiefer Moore scored while Tarkowski was laying struck down inside his own penalty area. The man is incompetent, he's not fit to referee in my opinion, and he really put a dampener on what I thought was a decent Everton performance. I thought that we set up defensively really well. We were very strong in getting our first clean sheet of the season, in the league that is. I thought Dyche got his subs perfect, I thought his setup was good, I thought we had chances to nick the game. And it was just frustrating that I don't think I spoke about that till about 9:30, because coming home from the game with my dad, we were just talking about how the match had been ruined, in our opinion, by the person in the middle. So no excuses for it, whether you think it's a penalty or not. It's far too many times that we're talking about Craig Pawson in this way, and for me, he needs to be relieved of his duties on Everton games. But onto the fixture as a whole, onto the player ratings. As I say, I thought that we played quite well, probably had chances to nick it. They certainly did as well. So on the balance of things, a 0-0 draw was the right result against a decent side, I thought anyway. So we'll start with the hero of the day, Jordan Pickford. There is a myth around Jordan Pickford that he doesn't perform well against Newcastle. It's absolute nonsense in my opinion. The amount of games where he's kept us in it, or he's picked up points against Newcastle is far more than anywhere he may have cost us. The only one that springs to mind is when he was much younger and he actually saved a penalty in the game and then cost us in the collapse. Since then, I can't think of any mistake he's made against Newcastle. He's consistently excellent against them. He keeps his cool, and he certainly did for the penalty as well. Great mind games, making Gordon wait. Committed, made the save, and he was all round superb on the day as well. Commanded his box really well, good leadership as well, and as I say, kept his calm, as is his job. So an 8.5 for Jordan Pickford, who certainly had his best performance of the season so far. In my opinion, though, he wasn't man of the match. That's the next person up, James Garner. I thought James Garner was magnificent yesterday. Out of position against the likes of Harvey Barnes is always going to be difficult, and he stuck to his task really well. No one got the better of him, I didn't think. Defensively sound, fantastic on the ball as well. Really, really good. Started a few attacks just by being direct and being comfortable in receiving the ball from whether it was the goalkeeper or the centre-halves. I thought he was magnificent, Garner. And obviously his future at Everton is likely going to be in midfield. But he showed yesterday that he's a more than capable right-back in a very strong performance. So a 9 for James Garner, first one I've given this year. It took a while, but I thought he was that good. Thought he played really, really well. Tarkowski up next. He's got a lot of slander on Twitter over the past day or so for his performance. I actually thought he played really well. Didn't think he was the best centre-half. I'll get onto that in a minute, but I thought Tarkowski was very commanding. His ability to read the game is immaculate. His leadership's first class, and again, obviously with the penalty, I haven't seen it back. It is a penalty. It's an error. Thankfully, he got away with it. You can understand his frustration, considering, in my opinion, I think Tonali initiates the contact. However, obviously, it's no excuse from Tarky. He should know better. But at the same time, you've got Ndiaye was being grappled by Guimaraes in the same corner that didn't get given. A week after, Branthwaite had a penalty claim denied for the same offence against Crystal Palace, who themselves had a penalty claim denied for the exact same thing. So a bit of consistency from the PGMOL would be nice. However, no complaints there. But again, I thought he had a good game, Tarkowski. I think any claims for him to be taken out the team are, in my opinion, daft's harsh, but I think he's had a good start to the season. I think he's playing really well, and I thought it was no difference again. One mistake doesn't change that. So an 8 for me. And then his partnership with Michael Keane was fantastic. Keane, who I thought had his best game for Everton in years yesterday, thought he was magnificent up against, obviously, the pace of Gordon that we know. You've got Harvey Barnes one side, Jacob Murphy, Joe Linton bursting through. You know, they're a good attacking side. Newcastle, they've got pace and power. And Keane stood up to it fantastically. Plenty of timely interceptions, really good in the air, fantastic on the ball, as we know. We know Keane's passing range is great. But he was very commanding yesterday, and an excellent performance from Michael Keane, and I made up for him because of all the stick that he takes. And sometimes there's substance behind it. Some goals that he's given away this season have been inexcusable. Aston Villa springs to mind, but he was crucial in fact, in getting us our first clean sheet of the season yesterday. I thought he was excellent. So 8.5 for Michael Keane, and unfortunately not man of the match because I thought Garner was that good, but really, really pleased for Michael Keane. Young next, excellent, 8 out of 10. Third game on the spin where he's not put a foot wrong. Again, up against the pace of their front line, it was always going to be difficult, and given his age, you've got to give him huge credit for how he stood up to the task again. So a really good performance from Ashley Young, an 8 out of 10. Next up, Mangala. I thought he faded as the game went on, started really well, and towards the end, obviously rightfully hooked. You can see he's still building up his game fitness to the point that Sean Dyche wants him to be at. But a decent performance, a 6.5. I actually thought, on the whole, just a segue from that, I actually thought Everton performed quite well yesterday. We stood up to a decent side, in my opinion, and certainly deserving of a draw, and potentially, obviously, could have lost it, potentially could have won as well. So I always give ratings a bit more generously, so I'm sure people will disagree with these. However, in my opinion, I thought we played quite well. Doucouré next, 6.5. Again, decent performance, loads of legs, better on the ball than he's been in a long time. And you just know what you're going to get from Doucouré. You're going to get a lot of energy, a lot of heart, and that's what he gave. And I was tempted to give him a higher rating just for the celebration of the penalty save, but 6.5 for me for Dukes. McNeil up next, 6.5. Should have had an assist, really. Great save from Nick Pope off Calvert-Lewin. A little bit quieter than he was against Palace. Couldn't really find a way to make things happen, but credit to Newcastle, they defended quite well. But again, a quietish performance from McNeil, so a 6.5. Harrison next, didn't really come off for him in possession. Obviously his work rate is second to none, we know that. Helps out his fullback constantly, especially Garner in the first half when they were obviously trying to overload him, knowing he was out of position. But Harrison, a really good defensive performance, but didn't really happen for him, and rightfully subbed, I thought. So a 6 out of 10 for Jack Harrison. Ndiaye up next. I thought Newcastle done really well to smother him, and I thought Ndiaye done really well to counter that. So a 7.5 for Iliman Ndiaye on what was probably a quieter game than we've seen from him. But, you know, as soon as he gets the ball, he's going to try and beat someone, he's going to take him on, and of course it's not going to work every time, but it's so exciting when he gets on the ball, and he's been a great signing so far for us. It's going to be a task keeping him at the club long term as well, because he's certainly destined to go on to the top. So he's another good performance from the winger. Calvert-Lewin up next, a little bit quiet again, similar to Harrison. I thought just wasn't quite coming off for him. 6 out of 10. I think he's got to start bullying defenders a little bit more. You could see one point with about 15 to go, Dyche was remonstrating with him on the sideline, so clearly something that the manager wasn't too happy with himself. But a 6 for Dom, and hopefully he can get back into that form that he was showing at the start of the season, and I'm sure the goals will come, and I say they should have if we'd have been given a penalty. Subs next, Irobanum. I thought Irobanum was really good when he come on. I thought he was quite harshly dropped, to be fair. Done well when he come on, industrious. Excellent winning the ball back in their third, keeping us, outside of our half, stopping us from defending constantly, as it felt like it was towards the end, and a good performance from him again. So a 7 for Tim. And then Ghana next. Obviously, it was a sitter. He's got to bury that from that distance. I think he actually blazed that one higher than he did the one from the edge of the box about 5 minutes before, but decent on the ball, won the ball back, 6.5, fairly quiet. So another point for the Blues, 3 unbeaten now in the league. You can see, I think, things are starting to turn around. Players now looking like they're ready for the season, which obviously they should have been from the get-go, we know that. But slowly but surely things are starting to turn around, and I think as much as we want to be beating Newcastle at home, and there's, you know, a club like Everton, we need to be winning all games at home. A point in our current circumstance against basically what felt like 12 for most of the game, playing against 12 that is, isn't the worst case scenario on what was a very moody Goodison atmosphere last night. Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below. I'm sure people disagree, I'm sure people will agree. I have been very generous there, I'm aware of that. But I say, let us know your thoughts. Thanks for listening. Up the toffees. Come on, you Blues.